Yeah, whatever. It's fine. Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Stochastic.com NFL Live Before Lock. We got over 1,000 people here already. By God, isn't that a beautiful thing? Happy to have you guys with us. I'm Dave Loughran at Lafayette_D on the X, baby. Neil's got me saying it now. Joined by, one may call him the Showdown Shaman, Neil Orfield at Player Q DFS. Dude, I just put a tweet out because it blows my mind. So I talked about like Elijah Mitchell on some betting shows today, and Eric and I were on the matchup show, and we were both talking about him. We hadn't even discussed anything, but we're both talking about how he could be more involved. So I'm looking at touchdown props, betting one of them. I hit it on FanDuel at plus 310. I'm like, let me go to Odd Shopper and see what it is. Obviously checked everywhere else first.
Sure.
The touchdown prop market is so nuts from book to book. If you were just on DraftKings and hit it, you get it plus 195. Bet365 is plus 165, and FanDuel moved it to plus 310. It's back to 280 now, but what a crazy market for anytime touchdown scores.
Surprising in 2023 to still see them that far off when every book can look at every other book.
It's
easily.
weird.
Yeah.
You know what else, though? Like, that's why home run props can be real profitable if you play them right, because you can get wildly different props. Double and triple props and stuff like that. So all of those, obviously there's no. You can't bet the no on a lot of them.
Right.
Doubles, you can. Like a lot of those you can't, and if you do, it's just going to be juice to all hell and there's going to be a ton of hold. But yeah, for the anytime touchdown score, plus 310, getting that over a 165 every time, baby. That's why whenever I do those sports books reads, I'm telling you, hey, shop the odds. You won't regret it. Make sure you're everywhere, and it'll pay off in the long. Now we just need Eli Mitchell to score, which leads me to my first question, Neil. Are you with me that he's going to get some work today?
Absolutely. Shanahan came out and said they want to use him more. It was bizarre that he didn't get any work last game. After last year, like he was very involved. After Christian McCaffrey came over, I kind of thought that was how they were going to do it all year. Like, even though Christian McCaffrey clearly like one of the best running backs in the NFL, they still used a good amount of Eli Mitchell last year. I thought they were going to come in and do the same thing this year. Was not really the case. Week 1, where he got, I think, 10 snaps for Eli Mitchell, and then week 2, 0 snaps. So was not involved the past 2 weeks, but Shanahan did come out and say that's a mistake. They want to get him. They want to change up the rotation, get Eli Mitchell more involved. I think they're going to have an opportunity to do it right away. So yeah, I'm expecting him to get some run here.
Me too. My father-in-law came over the other day. I was like, hey, because I was doing a show with you, as a matter of fact, for the Eagles game last Thursday. Good game. And I had mentioned, he hit me up. He's like, you care if I bring anything over? I was like, yeah, but I ran out of beer. Can you grab some Blue Mountains? Grab a case of Coors Light. I'll pay you for it. He's like, yeah, no problem. Brings a case over, but he brought some Michelob Ultra, which, you know what? I don't complain, but Neil, I like when the mountains are blue in this house. And
is that a King of Beers Michelob Ultra, or is that a different beer?
Superior Light. No, I don't know. What is King of Beers?
I forget. It's one of the main ones.
Is
You're right. It is Budweiser.
Bud.
Yeah. There's one that you can like only get in Minnesota. Like, my friends came from out of town or Wisconsin, like in the Midwest. I don't remember what it was though.
Yeah.
I thought it might have been Michelob, but must not be.
JP said it's a weight control beer. That's what everyone says, but it has like 7 less calories than a Coors Light. It's all the same shit. Right. It's all light beer. Yeah. Orton's Neckbeard said it's water is water. Everyone wants to knock Coors Light. Neil, I know you want to too. You're an IPA guy. Coors Light's delicious, especially on a Thursday night when I got stuff to do.
I've got no issue with light beers.
Okay, listen, I love a good hazy IPA, some good, don't get me wrong. But generally speaking, I like to go out to the brewery and when I'm home, a couple Coors Lights at night, I feel all right. I don't want to get tuned up.
Exactly. There's benefits to the light beers. You don't get too drunk. I feel like this beer, if I have 2 of this beer that I'm drinking, this pumpkin that I'm drinking, I'm going to be drunk, and I'm also going to feel it tomorrow. Whereas if I'm just drinking light beer, like, it hydrates you.
For sure. Yeah, I love it too. We had a comment from Crack Muffin. Coors Bros rise up. That's right, man. Listen, if I ask you if the mountains are blue and you know what I'm talking about, we're going to be friends.
It is my favorite light beer, I believe, and I don't think there's a huge difference between them. But Coors Light is like my go-to.
It's the best light beer, but it is. My buddy loves Miller Lite. Fine, but yeah, give me the Coors Light all day. Anyway, happy you guys are with us. We'll jump right into this now. We got 1,600 with us already. We got a lot to talk about here. A lot to talk about. And Connor, comments are flying. You start talking about beer on a Thursday night before a football game.
People are ready for their beer.
People get stoked.
Yeah.
Yuengling. Yeah. I live like 45 minutes from that brewery, Turtle, man.
Oldest brewery in the country.
But but Yuengling in the bottle, Yuengling in a can, I'm telling you right now, it's shit.
Never had it in can. I've only had it like on tap, I think.
I bet Mike can attest to that. Bottled Yuengling is 1,000 times better than in a can.
100%.
So, all right. So let's get in there. Hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Show us some love around here, my friends. We're trying to get to 100,000. That'd be amazing if we cross that this season. All thanks to you guys. Appreciate everyone that supports this channel and jumps in and hammers that thumbs up out of the gate. Neil, I guarantee you, is petrified to say we won't get to 500 likes because we're almost at 300 already and the show just started. You don't have a leg to stand on today, brother.
Can't get to 600. I can tell you that for sure. 500, you're right. I feel like the audience has proven themselves they can get to 500, but there's no way they get to 600 today.
Dude, we hit like 800 last show. Anyway.
That was a different audience. It's a different audience today. They're not going to be able to find it.
Well, we have a fantastic audience. And Pete Warner has a tone. That's right. Atone for your sins here. Let's get into some football. Star waving. There's always one. Talk football. I just told you we were going to talk football, man. Don't tell me to talk football because then I won't talk football.
It just makes us not want to talk football.
It just makes me want to just throw the show. Anyway, let's talk, man. So we have all the quarterback running, all the positions up on the sidebar. Usually what we're going to do is we'll kick it off with quarterbacks, but we usually get into more game theory and strategy. It's kind of where it leads us because if you're doing this show, it makes more sense to actually get into the stuff that is going to help you guys. And yes, believe it or not, that's what we're trying to do. Whoever just asked me to talk football. At quarterback, though, you got Brock Purdy. He's been very efficient. Kind of like game manager status, but that's not an insult at all. It's just you have Christian McCaffrey in the backfield. And when you're that efficient and when your defense is as good as it is, you don't need the heroics all of the time. So between him and then Daniel Jones, who's got 2 downed offensive linemen, already a sketchy situation going up against one of the league's best pass rushes. You're going to have Bosa barking down your throat all game. And no Saquon Barkley. How are you approaching the quarterback position today? I don't think there's a better place to start. And not just if we're playing them, but how much do you captain them? Are you getting weird with a bunch of Daniel Jones captain lineups? I know you're willing to do that in a lot of spots.
Yeah, I love it. So I'm getting to, I set a cap at 20% on all players in the captain spot. I'm getting to 20% of each of these quarterbacks. We have, Daniel Jones looks like he is approximately correctly owned. We've got him at 8.7% captain ownership, 8.3% chance of being optimal in the captain spot. So I could go in and thumbs down it. I've said this before. I naturally get to a lot more quarterbacks in the captain spot if I don't do anything to tamp it down because I boost the wide receivers. So then naturally I get to more of the quarterbacks in the captain spot, but I love them. I'm not going to do anything to get rid of them. I feel like they are 2 of the stronger captain options on the slate. Purdy, we actually have as a little bit under owned in the captain spot, 9.7% captain ownership, 10.2% chance to be an optimal. I only required 1 pass catcher when I have Purdy. I think actually each of them I required a pass catcher if I have them in the captain spot. I think you could play Daniel Jones naked in the captain spot. I didn't realize how good of a rusher he was last year. Like I knew that he was really good. I didn't realize that he rushed for 708 yards. He was within 56 yards of Lamar Jackson, who had the second most rushing yards on the entire. Only Justin Fields was far and away above everybody. And then it was like,
and it all happened in the second half, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Which is even. Oh, you mean for Fields?
I thought you were talking about Daniel Jones.
Did it? I guess I didn't double check if it happened in the second half for Daniel Jones. That's just an extra bonus.
No, I was just saying, like almost all of his production came in the second half of that game.
Right. Yeah,
against Arizona.
Oh yeah, you're talking last week. Yeah. So last year Daniel Jones was.
Oh, you're talking last year. I thought you were.
Yeah.
I got bogged down.
What are we talking about? Yeah. No, I happens to me all the time. Daniel Jones was within 56 yards of Lamar Jackson, and Daniel Jones had the 5th most rushing yards of any quarterback last year. Fields was like far and away the best, and then it was Lamar Jackson, Hurts, Daniel Jones, and who am I missing? One more rushing quarterback. But anyway, he was elite. Like he was like, there were 5 quarterbacks above 700 yards, and then the 6th best was Marcus Mariota at like 450 or something like that. So there's a huge drop off after Daniel Jones. He was like a legitimately elite rushing quarterback last year. So, and this is the kind of game where like the Giants might not score a ton of points, and you have to play somebody from the Giants. So I actually don't hate the idea of playing Daniel Jones naked. If I'm going to play him naked, I prefer to have him in the flex. But I think that he's totally viable in this game, just playing him naked, which I don't say all that often. Usually a lot of quarterbacks I want to play with at least one pass catcher. Daniel Jones is an exception today. I'm totally willing to play him naked in the flex. I think I still required a pass catcher if I've got him in the captain spot. I don't think you necessarily have to require it. Just kind of hard for me to envision him putting up enough fantasy points to be the optimal captain without bringing along at least one pass catcher. Certainly could happen, but feels more likely to happen in the flex. But yeah, I love both these quarterbacks. They're going to be 2 of my higher owned players on the slate. I'm not getting to like 100% of either of them. Like it's not like one of those, Jalen Hurts kind of slates where I'm just like, yeah, I'm going to play him in every lineup. That's not happening for me, but I am going to have both of these quarterbacks in 60 to 70% of my lineups, probably. Maybe I'll get up to 80 by lock. I think that they're two of the better plays on the slate, 2 of the more projectable plays on the slate. And I love Daniel Jones's rushing upside here.
I mean, he could be running for his life.
Exactly. That doesn't hurt my fantasy teams, though.
No.
As long as he's running the right direction.
Look, it is kind of nuanced because they're 10 they're 10 and a half point dogs. Like I mentioned, the offensive line, we shouldn't ignore the fact that this was already a shaky offensive line, and they're now missing 2 starting offensive linemen for this game.
Right.
That doesn't bode particularly well for them without Barkley either. But yeah, maybe that's what it is. Maybe it just has to be Daniel Jones running a lot. You talked about Fields and Jackson. We've seen Fields with a garbage offensive line and no pass catchers to speak of rack up 100+ yard games. Granted, this is a really brutal matchup. For me, I actually think I like Jones, despite everything I just said. I actually think I like Jones more than Purdy based on one thing. If they score any points, it's going to be because of Daniel Jones.
Exactly.
I'm not, right? Like, what are the other outs? Gary Brightwell, Matt Breida, Eric Gray? Maybe one of those guys breaks something, but the chances are slim. Aside from that, Daniel Jones either using his legs, like I said, was the leading rushing attempt player in week 1 when they were down against Dallas. And then last week ran well too. I just, with Brock Purdy, there are a lot of different ways for him not to produce. And their names are Christian McCaffrey and a guy like Elijah Mitchell, who probably gets worked in as well. So
even Debo. I mean, they haven't been using him as much as a running back this year, but they certainly could.
Right. No, he had 6 rushing attempts last game, scored on a rushing.
Oh, did he really?
touchdown.
Man, okay. Yeah.
I believe so. Off the top of my head, I think it was 6 rushing attempts, and he, I believe he scored on a rush on a rush as well. So, do I have supreme confidence in Daniel Jones? No, but it's also one game that we have to choose from, and you laid it out nicely. The fact that he does have the ceiling potential, even in a tough spot, and hey, it's a huge spread, but weirder things have happened. Weird things always happen in the NFL. So I'm with you there. I think the running back situation, though, is where I'm most fascinated by what people are going to do and what I'm going to do. Also, more importantly, what you plan on doing. Kyle Shanahan has talked frequently about getting Elijah Mitchell more involved before this. And then after the last game, he's like, look, it wasn't the plan, but we got to get him more involved. Now, hopefully the plan to get him involved doesn't get axed today, and he gives McCaffrey a 100% snap share. But here's my lean on this. You guys tell me in chat if you agree or disagree. You too, Neil. Game 4 days ago against the Rams, 100% of snaps for Christian McCaffrey. Massive workload early on. They've talked about Elijah Mitchell spelling him a decent amount. We haven't seen that come to fruition yet. So 100% of snaps 4 days ago. Get the win. Now you're 10.5 point favorites on short rest. And Elijah Mitchell, who Shanahan explicitly said he wants to use more, is actually a good backup running back against a less than stellar run defense. I think all signs point towards him at least getting enough work to be viable at his current price point for sure.
I love that point. That is an excellent point that they just played a game on Sunday and it's Thursday and they use Christian McCaffrey 100% last. Like, I think that's one of those things that's going to get overlooked by the field a good amount. That, yes, like even if they weren't going to play Elijah Mitchell a lot, if it were a Sunday game, the fact that they are playing 4 days later definitely increases the chances that they get Elijah Mitchell involved, on top of the fact that Shanahan came out and said they want to get him involved. So I'm 100% with you. I love Eli Mitchell as a play today. Sure, there's some risk that he doesn't get any run once again, but we've got him at 14% ownership right now. He's only 2,400. If he gets 12 touches in this game, he's very likely to pay off that 2,400 price tag. So yeah, he is a player that I'm going to be overweight to the field on. There's some risk that he ends up getting, more juice than we anticipate, because we're not the only people out there who know that Shanahan came out and said he wants to get him involved. So it's possible he comes in higher owned than we expect him to, but yeah, if he's going to be under 20% owned, I'm going to be above weight to the field on Eli Mitchell. I think that he's too cheap for what I think his role is likely to settle into. And I don't know if it's going to happen this week, but I think that your point that they just played on Sunday, it's Thursday, he didn't play at all, and they came out and said that they want to play more. I think that it's more likely than not that he does get significant workload here. Not going to be 50-50 with McCaffrey, but I wouldn't even surprise me if it were like 60-40 for one game, just because they are coming off of, it's 4 days rest. It's possible that he's even more involved than they plan on having him involved going forward. So yeah, I like Eli Mitchell quite a bit.
Charles Moran said, don't let him soft soap you. Lock in McCaffrey. You're missing the point, man. You're missing the point, because I love McCaffrey today.
Yeah, right. Nobody's telling you not to play McCaffrey, to be clear.
I think McCaffrey and Mitchell in the same lineup is 100% viable today.
It's absolutely viable. I mean, they're favored in this game. They're pretty likely to win this game, I would say, and they could just run all over the Giants. So yeah, I think it's very viable to play both in the same lineup.
Brian Durkee said, Laffy, y'all got to talk about the $200 bell. The generator's putting him in everything. I don't think that's crazy either. We're going to get to wide receivers. We'll talk about that. I don't think that's crazy. If you're not getting Ayuk in this game, it could be Bell. It could be Jennings. But Jennings has never really proven himself to, like, Jennings has always been a fine tertiary guy that you use in dire situations, but this target share actually has been very concentrated, Neil. It's just Ayuk, Debo, Kittle might not have broken out yet, but Kittle's target share is fine. And then McCaffrey. Aside from that, there's just nobody.
Yeah, and Ayuk being out is actually, I think, one more feather in the cap of Eli Mitchell. Like they want to get playmakers out there. I think Eli Mitchell also qualifies as another playmaker. So that's one more reason to play him. Yeah, I mean, as you said, we're going to talk about wide receivers, and Ronnie Bell, certainly somebody we need to talk about now that Ayuk is out. He's played, over 50% of snaps, I believe, after Ayuk went out in the last game. We're anticipating that he's going to get pretty similar usage once again. But there's a lot of interesting wide receivers to talk about.
Yeah, we'll get into them, but I just want to get your final thoughts on the Mitchell and McCaffrey situation, how you're playing this. We broke down a lot of Mitchell, but are you going to captain any Mitchell? Are you going to have any Mitchell captain, McCaffrey flex, McCaffrey captain? I know you'll have McCaffrey captain, Mitchell flex. So will I. That's an easy spot to get to for sure. And I'm not saying it's going to be totally unpopular either, but right. How are you leaning on what your construction looks like with those two guys?
So currently I have 15% McCaffrey in the captain. I do have 5% Eli Mitchell captain currently. Things can change pretty quickly. I'm running lineups throughout the show. I'll end up doing 30 crunches by the time we're done with the show. But currently I've got 15% McCaffrey, 5% Eli Mitchell. Totally fine with that. And yeah, in my Eli Mitchell captain lineups, right now I have McCaffrey in all three of them. I'd prefer to have at least one that does not have McCaffrey in it, but yeah. And in McCaffrey lineups, I'll probably have some Eli Mitchell in the flex as well. No issue pairing the two of them.
How are you feeling about this backfield for the Giants?
Not great. I mean, it would be more interesting if they were playing anybody other than San Francisco. I guess I should flip what I said. I don't feel great about it. I am still playing it though, because somebody's going to have to get some run most likely for the Giants. I think 18% ownership on Matt Breida is fine. Like he is a little bit involved in the passing game. I was just looking at his game log last year, and in week 18 against the Eagles, he actually ran 22 routes and was targeted 8 times. So that's at least within the realm of possibilities, within his range of outcomes. I don't think of Matt Breida as being a great pass catcher. Admittedly, I don't watch a ton of the Giants, but just looking through last year, he was targeted a fair amount on fairly limited routes run. I guess it was like mostly in those Philadelphia games. So in week 18 against Philadelphia, as I said, 22 routes, he had 8 targets. In week 14 against Philadelphia, ran 16 routes and had 4 targets, which honestly, Philadelphia, a very strong defense. So maybe he'll get more targets in games where they are facing strong defense. At least we can kind of hope that is the case. He has a little bit of added PPR upside. As I said, he had 8 targets in one game, 4 in another, had a few other multi-target games. So plenty of reason to like some Matt Breida. Love that he has a little bit of PPR upside. Then you got Garrett Brightwell in there. I see that you're back. Okay, good to see. Garrett Brightwell also had a game, that same game against Philadelphia in week 18, ran 15 routes, had 3 targets in that game. So showing a little bit of PPR upside as well. Yeah, it's a mess. It's a mess for sure. They've said it's going to be running back by committee. My guess would be Matt Breida gets the most run in this one, followed by Brightwell. And then Eric Gray, just kind of a wild card there. Punt returner, rookie, has not played any offensive snaps so far this year, but Saquon Barkley also hasn't missed a game yet this year. It's possible that Eric Gray gets mixed in a little bit. He's just 1,400. As I said, he's the rookie and he's already the punt returner. So there you have that out of like, maybe he doesn't play on offense, but gets 6 points for a punt return, potentially, if you want to take that route. But I think that is possible that he gets involved in this game with Saquon out. And we have Eric Gray projected for just 4% ownership currently. So I'm going to have a little bit of each of these guys. I'm going to have the most of Breida, followed by Brightwell, followed by Eric Gray. So is the field. But I am currently overweight to all 3 of them.
All right. This is why you're the shaman, man. You'll have people all the time that just completely write players off, right?
On Showdown, you can't. You just can't write.
You can't.
I mean, you can occasionally, but like a lot of the time you can't. And I don't think that these players are players that you should, because I think that this is a slate where it's going to be a little bit tough to get unique. Like everybody wants to play the same guys from San Francisco. So you got to kind of, I guess I should put it this way. You have to play somebody from the Giants. You don't really feel comfortable clicking anybody from the Giants. So I think that these guys are no more uncomfortable for me, or not much more uncomfortable than the receivers are for me. And they're coming in at pretty low ownership.
Yeah. I mean, and sure, if you're playing like a single entry or 3 max, you're not going to be able to get to everybody. But if you're playing a decent amount of, if you're playing a decent amount of players or lineups, then yeah, you're just going to have to play lineups that don't look great. I mean, I'll tell you what, you saw that Squirrel Patrol lineup on Monday night?
Yep.
What did he ship a solo Millie with a lineup that had like 6,000 salary left over or something crazy?
Yep, exactly. Played Jerome Ford, played the backup running back for one of the teams. Other than that, like I maybe I'm misremembering, but I don't think it was all that weird of a lineup. Like just looking through it, it was like, yeah, this is, correlated the way it should be. He played the backup running back and smart of him. He played Ford. He did not play Nick Chubb in that lineup. I think he probably could have upgraded Ford to Chubb, and he just left salary on the table. You got to get weird to win a lot of money on short slates.
You know what? Sometimes you don't need to be super weird. You just need to have, you just need to have certain spots, like one spot sometimes that is different enough. But
yeah, true.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of what we see that a lot. If you just leave salary where everyone else is not even chalky, but everyone else like, oh, solid play. And then you play a cheaper guy where you could have played a guy that was like 2,000-3,000 more, then you're immediately just a lot different.
Exactly. Getting different doesn't necessarily have to be playing off the wall plays. A lot of the time I recommend off the wall plays. It's one of the easier ways to get different and get a big leg up. But as you said, like leaving salary on the table is actually, I think, the easiest way to avoid dupes. Just in the limited research that I've done, looking through all of the slates from last year, that was the strongest correlation to not being duped, was just leaving more salary on the table.
Yep. And I have a mental block with that, which is why I love the Sims tool and the lineup generator and stuff like that, because it allows me to not put my own biases in.
Right.
It's not easy to be like, I think I'm going to leave 3,000 on the table.
I've always said that about optimizers. Like, one of the underrated benefits of using an optimizer is you don't fall in love with your lineups. Like I used to back in the day, I would hand build all my NBA lineups, and then breaking news would come out and I'd be like, oh, but I really liked this player that I put in my lineup. I don't want to swap him out. I don't have those concerns when I use an optimizer. I kind of try to get to the right amounts of different players that I want, but I don't fall in love with individual lineups. I think that Sims takes it to a whole new level. Like, you're not creating your lineups. The Sims are creating the lineups for you. Yes, you can adjust. There's a lot that you can do manually to adjust what you get there. But there are benefits to using the tools outside of just they're giving you plus EV lineups.
By the way, guys, the lineup generator, we got the Red Zone promo. It's $9.99 for the first week. It is a sweet tool. Mike can throw it up on the screen too. It's an awesome tool. And you have Showdown. You remember during the MLB season how many times I was showcasing MLB wins just left and right?
Yep.
You're like, oh, I won this in the quarter arcade, $1,000. Oh, put it in I played them in the mini max using the lineup generator, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000. The MLB lineup generator crushed. Didn't have Showdown though. NFL has Showdown. And you can also adjust for the way with Showdown, you're always trying to tell a story. Like, does this stay close? Is it a blowout? Is it a defensive battle? We watched a guy with a single bullet take down a Millie last year with both kickers and both defenses between that Colts and Broncos game. That was just a horrible game. Not for him, though. You can make adjustments. So you can go and be like, all right, I'm going to play on DraftKings. And then you go, all right, I'm going to do Showdown. What kind of lineups do I want? Do I want chalky, contrarian? Do I want what kind of builds? If it's main slate, you can do the same thing, and then you can select your stack types. But you go and you're like, all right, Showdown, I'm going to go with balanced builds because I'm going to go single entry 3 max type stuff. And then you can actually adjust the scores. So if like you think it stays close, or if you think the Niners rout them, or the Giants stay competitive, or they do nothing, or it's just a super low scoring game on both fronts, you can do all of that, and then they'll build lineups out for you. The way I recommend doing it, Neil, though, is build out and save some of the lineups that you like from one of those scenarios, assuming you want to adjust it, and then run it back with a different one, because we're not always going to be right on how this game plays out. You can see how chalky or contrarian every lineup is. You can see the optimal projection. You can swap players in and out, although I'd recommend being careful with that. And then once you save the lineups you like, because we're running thousands of simulated lineups behind the scenes, throwing out the bad ones and only giving you the good ones. Once you get everything and you're like, all right, I saved the lineups I wanted, you can upload them to CSV, but you see it on the screen. You can see your exposures to every player, all your lineups. And if you're playing the main slate, you can see your stack exposures. Dude, for $9.99 a week, I guarantee you there's not a better tool out there. So if you want to give it a test drive, even if you're only playing a few bucks a day, or 20, $30 a week in NFL, it's the best companion piece to have, or you just don't have time. Check it out. Link in the description and in chat. $9.99 for the first week. It's a great deal and an awesome tool. All right. Wide receiver. So we still got plenty of time left. Did we hit 300 or 500 likes yet? I mean, I would hope so. 461. We'll get there.
I just gave you mine too.
All right. We need 38. Yeah, we got it. I trust our people. At wide receiver, I want to talk about the 49ers first, because you have Brandon Ayuk sidelined for this game, which is quite a big deal, which leaves us with Deebo Samuel. I'm going to talk about Kittle in the same sentence. I think we kind of have to here. And then guys like Juwan Jennings and Ronnie Bell. Somebody was mentioning earlier that I think it was Ryan or Kyle. I can't remember who it was, but Durkee. Yeah, that's what it was. Brian Durkee, I think.
Yep, Brian Durkee.
We're talking about getting a lot of Ronnie Bell. He's minimum salary. So, yeah, if he is technically the wide receiver 4 and we don't really know. Remember the situation we talked about with the Bills when we didn't know if it was going to be Khalil Shakir?
Yeah. Deontay
Hardy, and but who was the other one? I can't even remember.
We're talking about this year or last year?
No. This year we had the same conversation in a Bills primetime game. Trent Sherfield.
Oh, yep.
Deontay Hardy, Khalil Shakir. It ended up being Hardy, I think. So we don't know. We don't know who it's going to be here, but it's fun to guess. Who are you on and how are you playing this? Starting not with Deebo or with Kittle, but with the wide receiver 3 for San Francisco.
Yeah, so I think Juwan Jennings is generally the wide receiver 3 in San Francisco. I don't know like how you define this exactly, like who's going to be the wide receiver 2 at this point. I guess you could say that Jawan Jennings is going to play the wide receiver too, but maybe we have Ronnie Bell just filling in to that Ayuk role. Ronnie Bell largely filled in for Ayuk after he left the last game. Ronnie Bell has played 27 snaps already this season. I'd say that he is the likeliest to fill in and play the most snaps of the remaining San Francisco receivers outside of, I think Debo is obviously a sure thing, but then I think Jawan Jennings is likeliest to get the second most snaps of these wide receivers for the Giants. After Jawan Jennings, I would think Ronnie Bell, certainly the likeliest. He's also getting the most ownership. So keep in mind, we have Ronnie Bell projected for 15% ownership. I think that it's similar around the industry. Everybody's projecting Ronnie Bell next in line for the Niners. And it's based on a pretty small sample size of Ayuk being out. So there's no guarantee that he ends up being that guy. So I'm going to play some Ronnie Bell, but I'm not going to be going overboard and making the assumption in all my lineups that he's going to be the wide receiver 3. I actually am playing more of Ray McCloud currently. And that's just an ownership game. That's just Ray McCloud. We have at 5% ownership, Ronnie Bell at 15%. And even if things don't go my way in terms of the snap count, I think that, obviously Ray McCloud doesn't need much to pay off 200. So the way I'm playing it is I'm playing more Ray McCloud than Ronnie Bell. But it's not something that I necessarily would recommend to somebody if you're playing just one lineup to play Ray McCloud. I think that Ronnie Bell, as I said, is the likeliest to get the third most snaps of these 49ers wide receivers. Currently, those are the only 4 wide receivers that I have in play for the Niners. It's Debo. I'm playing a ton of Debo. I'm playing a decent amount of Jawan Jennings, not far off from the field. And then I'm playing a little bit more McCloud than Bell, but actually I projected them the same. Like I could run up next and get a little bit more Bell. I don't really feel strongly that I should be playing more McCloud than Bell. There are situations where sometimes I'll be like, I definitely just want to flip what the field is doing in terms of ownership. I don't feel that good about this one. Ray McCloud, not a guy who's had a ton of spike weeks in his career. But if I end up with a little bit more Ray McCloud than Ronnie Bell, I think I'd be happy with that.
Yeah. The only difference is like and that makes sense because of the price points, but the price discrepancy between Jennings and Bell is nuts.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I know Ronnie Bell was a preseason darling. People are excited about Ronnie Bell. And yeah, again, I don't feel confident that you should be playing more Ray McCloud than Ronnie Bell. Ronnie Bell is likelier to be like an actually good receiver. So if you want to play Ronnie Bell, I'm not going to talk you off him. I think that at 200, like he is too cheap for a guy who's should see significant roles for the Niners. But we haven't really, like, Jawan Jennings has played a ton of snaps and hasn't really done much with them. We don't really have reason to believe that the Niners are going to like force incorporating in a new receiver. They might just force it more to Debo, to McCaffrey, to Kittle, and maybe Eli Mitchell. So there's no real guarantee here with Ronnie. I think that it's riskier than some people might assume it is. But I do think that he is the likeliest to take on an actual receiving role here.
Yeah. And another thing too, is when you're talking about some of these cheap receivers, you have Bell at minimum salary, right? You have Ray McCloud at minimum salary. And then another one that people had asked about, Wan'Dale Robinson is active for this game.
Yep.
It's not going to get anybody excited, obviously. And they just have this mishmash of wide receivers, none of whom are really inspiring. So he might not play at all, or maybe he does play because your wide receivers, and maybe they're just desperate to get some production. Darius Slayton, Isaiah Hodgins, Paris Campbell, who every year is hyped up and every year fails to come through. Jalen Hyatt, 3rd-round rookie. Last game looked pretty good. Had that lone drop in week 1. Sterling Shepard, coming off multiple injuries, playing very few snaps. Do you think you're going to have any Robinson in this game?
I'm going to have some Robinson because we've got him projected for very little ownership. The role is a little bit unknown. And also the Giants haven't been good. I know they beat Arizona, so they don't maybe they don't feel the urgency to change everything they're doing, but 3 of the 4 halves they've played so far this year, the Giants have been absolutely awful, including against a bad Arizona defense. It's possible that they're looking for some change. They want to immediately inject the receiver who has not been playing for them. So I'm going to play some. I'm not expecting my kind of hope for Wan'Dale Robinson is that he's going to play similar to like Kadarius Toney last year for the Chiefs, where it was like he didn't play that many snaps, but when he was out there, he was targeted heavily. I'm kind of hoping for that for Wan'Dale Robinson. Maybe he gets 20 snaps, but he actually like sees 5 targets in those 20 snaps, that kind of thing is the outcome that I'm hoping for Wan'Dale Robinson. And there's a possibility that he plays more than I'm expecting. There's a very good possibility that he plays very little at all as well. So definitely risk involved with Wan'Dale Robinson. We've got him projected for 6% ownership, though. Currently, I have 10% Wan'Dale Robinson, and I think I'm happy with that number. I think that being a little bit above weight to the field for a guy like Wan'Dale Robinson makes sense to me. He's 200, wouldn't take that much to pay off his salary, similarly to Ray McLeod and Ronnie Bell. But he's competing with more receivers here. We got Hodgins, Slayton, Hyatt, Campbell, and Sterling Shepard. I thought Shepard was going to be inactive. Even Sterling Shepard is not inactive here. So we have just too many mouths to feed for the Giants. So can't feel too confident really with any of these Giants receivers. But I do think Wan'Dale Robinson at 6% ownership is an interesting ownership play.
Jorge Manzo with the super chat. Let's get it. Niners defense and Moody. All right. Freddie, who are your favorite punts? I think we just talked about it, right? I mean, if you're going full out punts, I mean, we'll do this quick because we got a lot of super chats, but if you're going full out punts, who would they be? Right, if you call Mitchell punts a punt, he's clearly my favorite, but I assume we're talking very, very cheap.
Yeah, so Mitchell, yeah, I agree, is the likeliest to hit of the punts if you count him. I think Eric Gray is a fine play. Juszczyk, we didn't even talk about Juszczyk. I think he's one of those guys that, like, yeah, he's always like marginally in play, could score a touchdown.
Yeah,
and
he'll be on the field. That's all you can say.
Yeah, he'll be on the field. He occasionally gets targeted, he occasionally gets goal line looks, but yeah, certainly not feeling that strongly about it. But yeah, we largely just talked about it with those three: Ronnie Bell, Ray McLeod, Wan'Dale Robinson. Pretty clear, solid punts. Sterling Shepard, a guy who has not gotten a ton of runs so far this year, but he's active. He surprised me by being active, and we have projected for 4% ownership. So at 1,000, I actually think Sterling Shepard is in the conversation at the very least. And then Daniel Bellinger at 800 played a ton of snaps week 1. It came down to 20% snap share in week 2, but I do think Daniel Bellinger, like, he's a tight end, always live to score a touchdown. So I'd throw him in that conversation as well.
Okay. We had another question, Neil. Never mind. David with using his free super chat, member for 3 months. Good time to bring up surviving a pool of hippos. What do you think, dude? 20 minutes to lock. Don't try and derail me, dude. Riley Cooper. Oh, that was from earlier. Anytime touchdowns, ? Why would anyone pick that instead of rush or pass touchdowns? I'm confused. Yes, you are. Because an anytime touchdown just means that they score at any point throughout the game. You're betting them to score a touchdown. If it's a running back or a receiver, it's a pass catching touchdown or a receiving touchdown. Prize Picks, though, has passing touchdown. Tony Pollard was like, had half a touchdown on Prize Picks. He's like minus 150, minus 160 at other books, but they included passing touchdowns as well on Prize Picks. So smash spot. That's a great spot to take touchdowns where there's no juice. And shout out to Chris Williams for gifting 5 memberships. Appreciate you, man. Jay said, yeah, nice. Okay, good transition here. I think Kittle gets more usage tonight. Favorite captain? Listen, I think Kittle at captain makes a lot of sense. A lot of sense. We can look at the top single game plays tool that we have on Stochastic and look at this as well. Yeah, Kittle, we have very, very positive leverage on Kittle. Jay, I'm with you, man. We have him 11% optimal in the captain spot. This tool's awesome, by the way. It's it gives you the percent that, or the likelihood that they're going to be the optimal captain, the likelihood that they'll be the top overall score, ownership for captain and utility, optimal utility spot, and the leverage score. By the way, all of our tools free when you sign up at Owner's Box. I think you guys know that. You're getting the first week entirely free. It's a $200 a month package for every NFL tool we have. First week is entirely free. You sign up at Owner's Box. You deposit minimum $10. Links in the description and in chat. Best deal, best promo we have going right now. Awesome Superflex contest. They have a $500 first match deposit bonus. Would highly recommend you exploit that if you have the means. And they're overlaying like a motherfucker. Okay? I don't know if they'd want me to say that, but they're overlaying like crazy at the last 2 weeks. 30% overlay last week. $175,000 prize pool in their flagship NFL contest. They got the lightning lineups that people said they've been crushing that format. They give you free tickets as well, like $15 in free tickets, plus the deposit bonus, and all of our tools, lineups, lineup simulator, contest generator, lineup simulator, contest simulator, ownership, player projections, top stack tool, boom bust tool, premium Discord, lineup generator, everything. We have everything, man. everything. You don't have to get this, and add this on anymore. You get everything for the entire week. You use the link, sign up at Owner's Box, deposit minimum $10, and you're in. And there's no better time to do it than right now. We got another doubleheader on Monday. So right. Check it out, ownersbox.com, sponsor of the show. We love them over there. And we like overlay as well. No better contest to get in on. But I digress. I love Kittle at captain, Neil.
Yeah, Kittle at captain. I mean, Kittle anywhere in your lineup looks pretty great. Just as you said, in our single game tool, we've got positive leverage on Kittle in both spots. We got him at 9% captain ownership, 11% chance of being optimal in the captain spot. That's really nice. He's much cheaper than Darren Waller, which is kind of interesting. And then we've got 35% util ownership, 42% chance of being optimal. So just looking at the single game tool, very clear that Kittle is a priority here. He's always very active, but it doesn't hurt that now that Ayuk is out. So like the 49ers like to use their weapons, and Kittle certainly one of those weapons that they've been not using as much as maybe you'd like, but they certainly are probably going to use him today.
How much do you like Darren Waller as well?
Yeah, so it's tough because obviously there are a lot of mouths to feed there. I think Darren Waller is the number one option for the Giants now with Saquon Barkley. I think that he's like the pretty clearly most talented offensive weapon that Daniel Jones has to work with here. So hard not to like Darren Waller. The tough part is he is $800 more expensive than Kittle, and he is facing this 49ers defense. So it's a tough spot for Darren Waller. Obviously, I'm actually currently a little bit underweight to the field on Darren Waller. We've got him coming in at 30% util ownership. We actually have positive leverage there as well. I should say 33% chance of being optimal in the util. 6% captain ownership, 7% chance of being optimal. I think that I'm getting a little bit underweight to the field in large part because I like to leave a lot of salary on the table. And as I said, George Kittle is $800 less expensive. So it's just easy if you're leaving salary on the table, easier to get to Kittle than Waller. So I like Waller. I'm just slightly underweight to the field right now, but using this tool, it would dictate like he is a great play. He's somebody that I wouldn't be mad if I end up overweight to the field on him either.
By the way, guys, if you already used the Owner's Box promo and you have the free week already, we have Owner's Box built into all of our tools and the simulator. I'm looking at their biggest contest for tonight for Showdown, and it is, not filled. 82% with like 13 minutes to go. So you want to run that simulator. It takes a minute, get a couple lineups in there, take advantage of a little bit of overlay. I assume you might get, I don't know if you will. I know we'll get overlay on Sunday, but just a PSA for those of you that already have accounts there and are looking to maybe get in some overlay, and some of the other big contests on other sites have filled. Back to receivers for a second. Well, do we agree that the 49ers defense and kickers are squarely in play here, and you just play that as normal?
I think that all are very much in play, right, including the Giants defense at 3,200. Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure.
Yeah. I mean, the 49ers is very expensive at 5,800. But yeah, I think that they are in play. I'm a little bit underweight to the field on the Niners, a little bit overweight to the field on the Giants. And then I've got about 10% of each kicker. I wouldn't mind being over, I think that the field is getting it about right with both defenses and kickers here.
All right, so let me back up to wide receivers, help everybody out. And by the way, Neil, shame on you. We will crush 600 likes. We're at 593. Thank you, guys. I had faith all along.
We'll see.
Someone's got to play the heel, right? The receivers, just to back up for a second, I think we covered a lot of it, but I didn't really get granular with you on if there's any guys you love at captain from either team, or any guys, any full out, like if you plan on going with a lot of Purdy and three pass catchers or two pass catchers, or I know Daniel Jones, you said you're fine running solo without anybody, but who are your favorite spots if you are pairing them up? I think in the final 10 minutes or so, it'd probably be good to hit on that stuff too.
Yeah. So Daniel Jones, as I said, I'm perfectly willing to play him naked, particularly if he's in the flex spot. I still prefer to pair him with a pass catcher. Like there is obviously a lot of positive correlation between a quarterback and his pass catcher, even if it is a running quarterback. You prefer that he's doing some work through the air as well. So when I'm pairing Daniel Jones with somebody, which is most of the time, Darren Waller is the pretty clear top pass catcher for the Giants. And then after Darren Waller, so far just looking at routes run, Darius Slayton appears to be the top wide receiver. He's played the most snaps of the group. I guess I don't have routes run pulled up here, but I've got the highest snap count Darius Slayton is the top there. I believe that his routes run actually went up this past week as well. Isaiah Hodgins, I think, still has a possibility to end up being the wide receiver one here. Looked really talented last year. He's run the second most routes of all of the wide receivers. And then Paris Campbell has run the third most routes of the wide receivers. So I think that those three are the safest, I would say, of Darius Slayton, Hodgins, Paris Campbell, the likeliest to have the highest workloads of this group. I still really like Jalen Hyatt as a contrarian option. He's only run 38 snaps so far this year, but he, in the last game, I forget how many, he had a ton of yards on just 2 receptions last game. He's just the kind of guy who it just takes like one splash play and he can put up a big score. Now, he is way too expensive for his role. So like, just like objectively, he should not be, what is he, 5,600? Yeah, Jalen Hyatt's, no, 5,200. Jalen Hyatt is 5,200. But we've got him at 8% ownership. So because of the ownership and because of the splash play potential and the possibility that they're just going to get their rookie more involved, he's shown a lot, I'd say, through 2 weeks. I do like him despite being like clearly too expensive for the role that he's had so far this year. So I think that he's interesting. I think that it's possible that Paris Campbell loses work to Wan'Dale Robinson now that Robinson is back. I don't think that there's any guarantee of that. I think most likely Paris Campbell's still out there a lot, but there's some possibility he loses some work. I mentioned Sterling Shepard as a guy who he's only played 24 snaps so far this year, hasn't really shown it in the same way that Slayton has, but I do, or that Hyatt has, but I do think Sterling Shepard, given that he's getting like no ownership, still is at least nominally in play. I'm going to have a little bit. And then we mentioned Wan'Dale Robinson making his season debut. It's hard to know with Wan'Dale Robinson. He's only played like 6 or 7 games already in his career. He's missed so much time. We don't really know what to expect from him season long or like what they're going to do in his first game back. I think that he's in play just because of the low ownership. We've got Wan'Dale at 6% ownership. I currently have 7%, so not going crazy on him. But yeah, so my favorite would be Slayton. I think would be the safest. Hodgins, I think, is right there as well. I'd say those two are probably the safest, followed by I do think Paris Campbell is still likely the third, but he's only 4,400, so Paris Campbell is still very much in play. And then Jalen Hyatt, the fun home run option rookie, who's not getting a ton of ownership there. I think that he's getting a little bit overlooked. And then I think you can play if you want to. You could play Sterling Shepard. You could play Wan'Dale Robinson. They're low owned. They should be low owned. But I'm going to play a little bit more than the field of each.
Okay. We had a question: Kittle or Waller? I love Kittle today, especially with Ayuk out, but I don't think you could go wrong with either of these guys. They're both viable options. Both of them in our top single game showdown plays tool, which is really just, running simulations itself, Neil. Those, because I mean, that's what it is, right? Like how many times running however many, simulations of this, did they come in at the top? Did they come in at the optimal captain? Same thing. We have Kittle as the top overall play 6% of the time. That is 5th highest behind McCaffrey, Jones, Debo, and Purdy. Mike, if you want to put this up on the screen, go for it. We have Waller 5%, right behind him. We do have Kittle as the optimal captain higher, though. And I think Kittle, if price matters to you, I think getting a cheaper, almost $1,000 cheaper Kittle than Waller is definitely the right move if you're playing one lineup. 9% leverage score. I think that's what, second or third highest on the slate. Third highest on the slate. Yeah, that all looks good. Waller has a positive leverage score too, but metaphorical gun to the head, Neil. You're playing one lineup. For me, it's Waller or Kittle over Waller.
Yeah, for me, it's Kittle because of the price tag. I think it comes down to like I think both are very, very much in play. I have a similar amount of each, but I think Kittle, the $800 price savings, the fact that Ayuk is out, benefiting Kittle. I'd say the slight edge to Kittle over Waller.
Keenan said, guys, the 49ers defense's captain is not bad. No. I mean, it's fine. We have him 3.8% captain ownership, projected ownership, 3% optimal captain.
Right.
So not bad. Not like the best spot on the slate, but not bad. Listen, maybe Daniel Jones and Brian Dable work magic. Weirder things have happened. The Giants covered a lot of games last year that they had no business whatsoever covering. And it happened every week.
Yeah.
Remember, like the
similar to the Vikings. The Vikings were like in one-score games every week and winning those last year. Pretty similar stories. Yeah.
At least they had a really good offense, though. I mean, with the Giants, they did it in the oddest ways, and they'd be down a lot too. That Packers game, they were down like 17-3. I think that was the Sunday morning London game or Germany game, because I remember doing a show watching that. I bet the Packers. And I was like, oh, I got this in the bag. I look up late in the third quarter and the Giants are marching again. Lamar Jackson with the fumble. You guys remember that last year where they had that locked up? Somehow the Giants come back, win outright. Felt like it happened every week, but they're down some players. They're down Barkley. They're down a bunch of offensive linemen. You're going to have a ferocious pass rush coming at you from the Niners. Would it shock anybody if they get to Daniel Jones and sack him 5 times and they have a scoop and score or a pick six? No, of course not. But I wouldn't be shocked if Daniel Jones runs for 80 yards either.
No, yeah, exactly. I think that he's, as you said, he's going to be running for his life. That doesn't necessarily hurt you in terms of DFS. Like the fact that he's going to need to be running a lot, I don't mind it one bit.
I certainly don't mind Daniel Jones lineups with Niners defense either.
Yeah. No, not at all. I'm going to have plenty of it. I just want to say one thing about the Niners defense in the captain spot. If you do play the Niners in the captain spot, leave some salary on the table, because your lineup is going to be duped a lot if you use the full salary, like within 200 of the full salary with a kicker or a defense in the captain spot, at least based on the bit that I've examined. When those lineups win with kicker or defense in the captain spot, it's been like using the full salary and duped a million times. So if you want
because people think captain defense is super unique, but it's not, is what you're
exactly
saying. Yeah.
Yeah. And in these large fields, like even if they come in at 3% owned in the captain spot, that's still so many lineups when there are, I don't know how many it is in this contest, but like 400, 500,000 entries in the contest. Like you're not as unique as you think you are if you're using the full salary cap.
Proper 19. Thanks for the super chat, man. Said, any thoughts on Chris Conley? Not really. The reason being that, and I know they elevated him from the practice squad with Ayuk out. Maybe I should be looking at this differently, and maybe Neil sees it differently. And I'm happy to listen. We still have a couple minutes here. You already had guys in Bell and Juwan Johnson that were on the field for almost 50% of snaps last game, and you have Ray McLeod as well. I don't know if Conley's anything outside of break in case of emergency type option there for Kyle Shanahan. But do you see it differently? Do you think there might be a reason to play him today?
Oh, he is I thought he was not in the player pool. I did not see him in Fantasy Cruncher, so I didn't think that Chris Conley was in the player pool. I guess the fact that they elevated him from the practice squad. Yeah, I would say he's in play. I guess I was mistaken in believing that he wasn't in the player pool. I think it's unlikely that he is involved here. Like the fact that he was not active the last game, he's not my favorite option of those receivers, but he's going to have 0 ownership. So in only the largest field contest, if you want to play Chris Conley, I guess you can. I'm not going to get to any, but I do think that he is at least nominally in play since he is active. And they played a lot of Bell last week. That was with Chris Conley inactive. Maybe they bring him in. They want to use him. He's not my favorite. I'm not going to play him. But if you are hand building a lineup and you want to get really, really unique and use close to the full salary, I got no issue with it.
Okay. We had a question. Mitchell in the captain spot. Yeah, we talked about it at length earlier. 1% captain ownership, 1.5% optimal captain probability. So slight leverage at captain. But put it this way. If you're going crazy in a large field, I don't think Eli Mitchell's the most insane captain play at all. Not a guy that you want to just go insanely overweight on, because you don't need to, Neil. Like you don't need to go overweight in the captain spot on Mitchell to get well over the field. But yeah, he's getting 1%, 1.5% optimal captain. And who knows, maybe he has a decent workload on short rest.
Yeah, exactly. I think that Mitchell definitely. So I am overweight to the field on Mitchell currently. Totally happy to be a little bit overweight to the field on Mitchell, and I do have a little bit in the captain spot as well. Man, you got me shook a little bit thinking about Chris Conley as like, should I be playing him? I did.
I'll get you even more shook. We have 666 likes right now, so things just aren't going good.
Look at that. 666. That's
strong 666.
I got married. I got married on Friday the 13th.
What's that?
I got married on Friday the 13th.
Oh yeah.
Not afraid of these numbers that scare people. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, my wife's birthday is on the 13th day of the month, so she's got a lot of Friday the 13th birthdays as well.
Fun, yeah.
Yeah, Rance, you're right. Ominous. Anyway, hey, you guys are the best. Appreciate you hanging out with us every show, doing what we can, having fun. I think this is kind of a cool game, though, Neil. I think it's kind of a cool game just because when you have these massive spreads, if it goes your way or if it goes the way you think and it blows out, then a certain lineup is a very distinct type of lineup is going to win. You know, the 5-1s probably with Niners defense in there as well.
Yep.
But if the Giants keep this close or the Giants hit you with that backdoor cover, start putting some points in late, then everything you thought by looking at the spread goes completely out the window.
I think we're going to see a lot of 5-1 Niners builds because we've talked about it. Like, you don't feel comfortable clicking any of these Giants guys. Yeah, I think I'm with you. Like, if the Niners go off, it's probably going to be duped a million ways with the 5-1 Niners. But if the Giants can keep it close and they put up some points, we could see some pretty unique lineups because not a lot of people are going to want to play 3 or 4 Giants in a lineup.
I love you guys. You're the best.
They are
700 likes, Neil. They're
so smart. This is way smarter than any audience we've had previously.
We got a good group of people. We got a good group. That's what I can tell you. We got a good group. Follow Neil at PlayerQDFS. Me at Loughran _D, LOUGHY _D. On where, Neil?
On the X.
Come on, that doesn't feel good.
It does feel kind of good. I'm giving in.
Yeah, we're gonna have to hit it with this. You're right, Mike.
That's right. I gotta figure out how to get my microphone so I don't have these cords right here. It's hard for me to do stuff like this because I'm reaching around. Yeah.
I bang this mic all the time.
Yeah.
I listen back to some of my shows on the Odd Shopper channel, on our betting channel, and you always hear all the time.
I try really hard not to touch anything while I'm on a show.
I do too. But I get excited. I talk with my hand.
Yeah. I do too when I'm not on a show. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks to Mike for producing this one. We'll see you guys back here soon. Remember, free week of all of our NFL tools. Sign up on Owner's Box. Minimum deposit $10. Take advantage of that big overlay every Sunday. And lineup generator, man, $9.99 for the first week. Awesome deal. If you ever have questions, hit me up on Twitter. My DMs, believe it or not, are open. We'll see you guys back here soon. Peace.